Oh, shh! From the old movies of 30 years ago and beyond,
to the world of the new films of the last 30 years.
To the movies that are now playing, this is Old, New, and Now Playing. And now, here's your host, Will Robinson Smith.
Now that we're safe again, hello and welcome to Old, New, and Now Playing, your time machine through the world of movies. I'm your host, Will Robinson Smith. Thank you so much for joining me. And you know, I'm starting to think that springtime might be the new landing spot for some really excellent horror films. Obviously, we got Get Out last year, we got this film this year, and so no need to be quiet about this one. Let's just shout it out to the rooftops. This is your feature presentation. A Quiet Place is the third time in the director's chair for The Office alum John Krasinski. The movie takes place in a world where deadly creatures roam about that hunt by sound. A family, anchored by Emily Blunt and Krasinski, live in this hellscape where, in order to survive, they have to stay silent at all times. You know, if it wasn't for Black Panther just absolutely crushing it in my mind earlier this year, this might be my favorite film of 2018 so far. It's definitely making a strong play to end up in that list at the end of the year. It'll for sure be in my top 10 of the first half of 2018, guaranteed. The casting in this movie is fantastic, and none more so than the two parents in the family, Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. The pair are not only married on-screen, but also in real life, and fortunately, their off-screen chemistry translates well to these characters. Because of the premise of the film, a large portion of the acting here is done with facial expressions and American Sign Language. They both convey so much with their eyes in this movie, especially the different levels of horror they feel. The children are also really well cast here. The eldest child, played by Millicent Simmons, happens to be actually deaf, like her character. And actually one of my favorite directorial choices made by Krasinski happens with this character. Whenever the action pivots to her perspective, the audio completely goes away. It's a very particular juxtaposition between her and the rest of the family who have to live in silence, but can still hear. A big part of her relationship with her father comes through her inability to actually hear and how the two navigate that. The acting in this movie is superb, and part of what allows them to do so well in their performances is the fact that they have a really good script to work off of. The story was written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who also served as executive producers on the film. And random side note, this film was actually co-produced by Michael Bay's production company, Platinum Dunes. So, I guess side plug for Michael Bay?
Side plug.
Platinum Dunes is actually the production company behind both the Ouija and the Purge films, so it's not too surprising that it added another horror gem to its roster. Back to the script. Originally, the first draft only had one line of dialogue, and you can feel that mentality throughout the movie. It's able to take a simple premise of watching a family go about their day in large part, but seeing what that would be like if they couldn't make any sounds. How do you love? How do you laugh? What does silent fear really look like? The movie also delves into some interesting family dynamics between all the members, and without going into any spoilers, there are definitely some moments that will make you tear up. Well, at least I did. But the thing that really impressed me about this movie is the fact that from the second it starts, it consumes you completely and doesn't let you go until the credits roll in such a way that you feel like you have to actually stay silent. It's weird. Unlike other movies involving either aliens or some other invasive creature, we don't actually get to see the origin of these things or a whole lot into their backstory. The movie picks up with you smack dab in the middle of this reality and says, well, they're surviving. Can you? And that's the brilliance. It makes you feel as an audience member like you're so attached to this world that you find yourself not wanting to make noise too. That's partly due to the sound design, partly due to the direction, and partly the score by Marco Beltrami, who worked with sound editors Eric Adal and Ethan Vanderin to create an augmented soundscape that is very visceral. Vanderin won 2 Academy Awards working alongside Peter Jackson for his work on 2005's King Kong and The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Both Vanderin and Adal were nominated for their sound editing on Transformers: Dark of the Moon and Argo. There were a couple of nitpicky things that I thought did kind of bother me the first time I watched it, and the second time I saw it. Yes, I did see it a second time because I loved it that much. And I, don't want to go into too many spoilers, but there were some just odd choices given the reality of this movie that, it was those just little things that characters do that just frustrate you sometimes in horror movies, but I guess that kind of adds to the suspense, so I don't know if that's necessarily a problem or just my anxiety watching the film, it could go either way. In all, this is an excellent movie and one worth seeing in a theater space with other people. It's that rare, well-paced, all-consuming type of suspense that you only get once in a great while. In fact, Master of Horror Stephen King described the film in a tweet saying, "A Quiet Place is an extraordinary piece of work. Terrific acting, but the main thing is the silence, and how it makes the camera's eye open wide in a way few movies manage." Well put, Mr. King. I give A Quiet Place a well-deserved 9.5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on A Quiet Place. After you see this movie, and I really hope you do, jump in the comments section, let me know what you thought about it, and what's another one of your favorite horror suspense films of, let's say, the last 5-10 years. One last thought, according to comments from the writers in an interview with Slash Film, they actually thought about the possibility of making this part of the Cloverfield franchise. Fortunately, I believe, they let it exist on its own. But do you disagree? Do you think it should have been part of that universe? Anyway, that will do it for this review. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, that would be great. And while you're clicking on things, click on that old subscribe button down below. That way you can keep up to date with all the things coming out on this channel in the very near future. And if you want to talk more about movies, this one or otherwise, head over to the Facebook page for Old, New, and Now Playing, and we can have even more discussions about all the things in film there. So thank you so much as always for watching, and I will see you next time.